Hey guys, so Donald Trump has been making life harder in US. Canada has lost its charm. I did a video on Ireland talking about the harsh reality of student life and job market there. So now the question remains, what other countries can you practically consider for studying abroad in 2026 and beyond? And I've been getting many queries about Australia. So I thought I'll do a similar deep dive about the reality of Australia, what's going on with students there, what's happening with the job market, etc, etc. So all this information on the other side of this intro along with my opinion. Keep watching. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for sticking with us, and if you like the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel because it really helps me with the algorithm and gives us the motivation to keep creating content like this. Now Australia is I would say neither here nor there. Now it has not suddenly boomed like Ireland, but it has been a low-key good destination for a while now. The economy was good, English speaking country and all that, so a lot of positive points, but not suddenly a very glamorous or overwhelmingly positive opinion about it are floating around. But can it be still a good, solid, stable alternative to US in 2026? So I want to figure all that out. Again, disclaimer, while some of our clients have applied to Australia, none of them went to study there in the end. And in fact, I had a person who already had an Australian admit, but he worked with me to get a US admit. This was, I think, 1 or 2 years ago though. So the situation keeps changing, but let me present like whatever research we have been able to find. Hopefully this will help you make a more well-informed decision. So let's get into it. So I'm going to analyze Australia from 5 lenses. Number 1 is economy and job market. Number 2 is tuition fee. Number 3 is living costs. Number 4 is university's reputation. And number 5 is study work permits and possibility of PR. So let's get started with the first point, which is economy and job market. Now, Australia's economy is relatively stable. Unemployment rate is also low at around 3.8%, and certain industries are still hiring aggressively. So this post-COVID rebound combined with 2 to 4 years of post-study work visa, multicultural environment, English speaking environment, and a great work-life balance. So this gave rise to a lot of international students got attracted to Australia. Now, as of November 2024, there were 1 million international students enrolled in Australian university, which is 15% increase ever since COVID. And majority of these students hail from China and India. In fact, Australia has become one of the top 3 destinations for Indian students in 2025. But what is the ground reality? How is that translating for international students? For that, we have to understand the job market. And here you have to know that Australia works very differently. So there is something called as skilled occupation list, which outlines professions that are in demand in the country, and that helps determine eligibility of various skilled migration and post-study work visas. So if you're considering to study in Australia and then get a job and maybe work towards PR, you have to understand which skills are in demand. Now, what makes it complicated is that Australia actually has multiple occupation lists, not just one. For example, they have a medium and long-term strategic skills list which determines permanent visas where will they be given to, and this covers jobs like engineering, nurses, teachers, etc. Then there is a short-term skilled occupation list which qualifies the temporary visas, including jobs like marketing specialist, cooks, cafe managers even, right? Interestingly, each state or territory in Australia also has its own demand list. It's called a state occupation list. So for example, Tasmania, which is a state, might list early childhood teacher as a high priority job, but it might not be a high priority job in other state like Victoria. So each occupation then has a designated assessing body which checks whether your degree plus work experience match the requirements for that occupation or not. The crux is whether you will get a job or not depends a lot on your target occupation list. And as of today, the fields which are doing well for international grads and they offer decent PR potential are, number 1 is nursing and healthcare. Number 2 is engineering in general, like civil engineering, mechanical, electrical, and software engineering. Third is teaching, early childhood, secondary education. Then you have social work is also a big category. Then you have IT roles like cyber security and networking, and AI is not that prominent in this list, okay? And lastly, also construction, quantity surveying, civil kind of jobs, right? They are also in good demand. So yes, this is a surprise for me that demand for AI is not strong, but nursing or construction is very strong. But when I think about what Aussies value and how they live, it makes sense. This is a country that loves its work-life balance, love for nature, fishing, cooking. They take their home time or personal time very seriously. And one welcome change that you see here is how respected blue collar workers are. For example, a truck driver or electrician is also a respected individual here, and people choose these professions not out of desperation but because they like it and the balance it gives. So please don't judge if somebody moves to Australia and ends up running a repair shop. That's completely normal. Now, what does these different skills list and everything mean is that how your later life would turn out in Australia depends on the occupation. So as somebody pointed out on Reddit forum that they got their PR in just 6 months once they switched from IT to aged care. Okay, and another person posted healthcare, trades, education. If you are in these, you're golden, but if you're in business or marketing, good luck. Even other like more traditional fields are also maybe not doing as well. For example, another person has posted that CS grads are not in demand because we are still in a tech recession. Demand for international students will improve in the near future. Now, this might be subjective, but I'm just telling you real user or student reviews. Another person posted, I've applied to 400 plus jobs after MBA, no PR, haven't landed a full-time role yet. The struggle is real. So yes, your degree and your target occupation matters a lot if you're going to Australia. Now let's also look at some salary numbers right now. Now overall, $1 Australian is roughly equivalent to 54 or 55 Indian rupee. Now the salary that you can expect for IT freshers is around 60 to 75k Australian dollar, which is just 41 lakh. So not super high, I would say, right? Then in engineering, other fields combined, the average salaries range from $70,000 to $90,000. In nursing, the salaries are around 90k, so as high as some of the higher salaries in the engineering. Social work also can pay you 65 to 80k, and business admin, marketing, these are lower paid careers, for example $50,000 to $65,000 only. Now, what does this mean overall for international students? So I'm going to read a negative review and a positive review from Reddit, which encapsulates the overall pros and cons in Australia. So for example, this negative or frustrated review from Reddit says that as a current international student, I say those 2 years of masters will be hell for you when you're trying to find a reasonable accommodation, a part-time job, a second-hand car, and also pay off your $20,000 a semester of tuition fee. You might even hate your university, as most of them do not provide specialized teaching as advertised on their course pages. And although many people say that Australians are friendly, you will notice a general sense of alienation from them. It's not being a racist, it's just that Australians can't relate to your background. My background is very different, but if I was given the prior knowledge that my reality of living in Australia is going to be very expensive and exploitative, I would have chosen another country to do my degree and only immigrate to Australia if I had like 10 to 15 years of real world experience. So that's a harsh review. Also, let's look at a silver lining wala positive review. And this person says that Australia is doing relatively well compared to many other countries. A lot of companies have done some pretty big hiring, especially TikTok, Microsoft, banks, AWS, etc. The problem here is that they all pretty much require you to have full working rights and not just a graduate visa. The only companies that reliably sponsor visas are high frequency trading firms like Optiver, Jane Street, etc. The problem is that these firms pay graduates $150,000 plus in salary, so competition is insane and you need to be exceptional. The point of studying abroad is that you do your education in a foreign country and then bring that knowledge back to your home country. For some reason, there are some international students who are convinced that they are entitled to immigration. So yes, mixed bag of reviews, but one sense you can get is that salaries are not that high and jobs are not that easy to get. So what is my recommendation to you? If you're choosing to go for Australia, before choosing your degree, visit the Australian Home Affairs website, search your intended occupation, check which visas it applies to, check the required qualification and experience, also figure out which states, territories or regions are more suited where those jobs are listed in their skilled occupation list, because that will make your work visa and PR situation much easier. Now let's move to the second section where I want to talk about the tuition fee, which is one of the most important factors when you're considering studying abroad, right? So here's a breakdown of what you can expect to pay. A master's degree on an average is costing around 30 to 50,000 Australian dollars per year, and a bachelor's degree can cost you $25,000 to $40,000 per year. So I think we can easily assume an average tuition of around 40k, let's say, which turns out to be 21 lakh rupees per year. Right? So here some people have commented that agents mislead students into thinking that they can earn tuition plus rent with part-time work. You just can't, not unless you want to burn out and fail your degree. So it's not easy to work a lot along with your education. So it's not easy to recuperate this education investment easily. Unlike US, there are no straightforward like assistantships or something which will give you a tuition favor. So you do have to pay this much of a tuition fee if you're studying in Australia. Somebody else has also pointed out that visa fee alone went from $710 to $1,600. Add medicals, insurance, deposits, and you are spending 30 to 40 lakhs easily. Now let's look at the next section, which is living costs. Let's talk about living in Sydney, Melbourne or Brisbane. Brace yourself because rents are crazy high. For example, you will spend roughly 400 to 500 per week for just a basic shared room. Groceries, another $100-$150 per week, transport $30 to $60. So total monthly spend will come to $1,800 to $2,500 per month. And what is the part-time job scene? Students are now capped to work maximum 24 hours per week, which I think is fair, because if you're studying, then you really can't work more than this, right? And hourly rates are around 23 to 28 Australian dollar. And jobs are just very basic like delivery, retail or working in a cafe kind of thing. So you're not really gaining any special skills when you're doing these jobs. So this part-time job will maximum make you around $2,500 per month in total. So which means it can offset your living cost if you do have like a full 24 hours per week kind of a job, but it's not going to give you anything beyond. As this Indian student posted on Reddit, I did Uber Eats and I made like 650 Australian dollars per week during the semester, but after rent and bills I was left with peanuts. You can't pay off tuition this way. Another person on YouTube has said that I paid 14,000 tuition fee per semester, which went up to nearly $18,000. There's no way you can earn this back during studies or even right after unless you are in a critical field. So that means that the overall cost of studying in Australia comes to roughly 40k of tuition plus 20k of living expenses, which in total comes to around $60,000 per year, or which is 33 lakh Indian rupee. Now, if you want to compare it to other countries, you can see that it's not that cheap. We had already done a comprehensive calculations for different countries in a previous video. Do check it out. I'll leave the link in the description box. But this is the table, and as you can see, Australia is more expensive than studying even in Canada. And even in UK, well, in UK because the degree is only 1 year, whereas master's degree is roughly 2 years in Australia. But yeah, it's right next to US. So it's not cheap by any means, and this is why if you're planning to study in Australia, you need to have a good plan and understanding of how you plan to recover that money. Now let's talk about next section, which is universities, reputation and academic rigor. Now yes, we do hear that Australian universities are doing pretty well in QS ranking. For example, Melbourne is at number 14 in the global rankings, right? Sydney is 19, Australian National University is number 34, While the rankings look great on paper, the academic quality varies by course. Many students have reported the grading is very lax and poor support in some business programs. So here are two reviews. First one says that I don't know how some international students even got their bachelor's. Their assignments were full of ChatGPT spam. Other person said, I've been here for 4 months and doing a master's degree in a so-called G8 university, and the quality of education is below par. To be honest, any tier 3 university in the US is better than G8 in Australia. At least for the money that I'm paying, my expectations were really high. So I wouldn't expect the similar kind of academic rigor and depth if you are studying in Australian university. This could also be the case that the peer group is not as ambitious or academically rigorous as you would see in Europe or US. But yes, these rankings do not translate well to the quality of education that international students have experienced in the classrooms. Lastly, let's talk about the very important point, which is the post-study work visa and PR. Australia actually has one of the most generous post-study work permit system because it gives you 2 to 4 years of temporary graduate visa after you graduate. Master students get typically 3 years and PhD graduates can stay up to 4 years. This is really, really generous if you compare it with other countries. But some things to note are that you don't automatically get a work visa or PR after graduating. You are eligible for it only if your course is at least 2 years, it is CRICOS registered, and you complete it on time and pass it well. Now let's talk about the PR, right? Again, it is considered that Australia has much friendlier PR than, let's say, US or UK. But here's the harsh truth. An Australian degree gives you only 5 bonus points for PR. To get PR, you need the occupation to be on skilled occupation list, a positive skills assessment from the relevant authority, which could be Engineers Australia, ACS, etc. You need to have work experience in that occupation. You need to have high English scores, age under 45, and often regional nomination as well. So there are a lot of list of criteria that you have to pass to actually get the PR, and this is not straightforward. Somebody commented on YouTube that I studied marketing but I still could not get the PR because marketing specialist wasn't open in my state for 190 491 visa. Second person commented, even if AI is booming globally, it's not in the skilled occupation list, so it doesn't help with PR. MBA also doesn't help. The problem is each state has different rules. As we saw, Victoria might welcome early childhood teachers while NSW might favor construction engineers. So this is why it's very important that you understand the regional requirements in skilled occupation list before deciding your course, before deciding your major, and even which state you're going to study in. Okay, so those are some different complications around Australia. And lastly, I've also been hearing that there is a very high rate of student visa rejections for Australia right now, that even if you have all the documents are in place, you are going to a good university and all, you can surprisingly get the student visa rejected. So that's what it is. So let me then come to the conclusion and my final thoughts whether Australia is worth it or not. I would say Australia can be a great choice if you are pursuing something in nursing, education, civil engineering, or similar PR linked fields, and you are okay to spend 35 to 50 lakh even if the job or PR is not guaranteed, and you are relying on yourself to network, hustle, and maybe relocate to regional areas also. But Australia is not a good fit if you are in business, marketing, media, MBA, forensics. Your main goal is to settle via PR, but you haven't checked the occupation list, or you expect to earn tuition back through part-time work. These are things that are not going to work. A YouTube student did comment that I've been trying to get PR for 5 years. It's not automatic, it's hard, and no agent told me this. So before you go to Australia, you have a lot of homework to do. My final advice is always check the CRICOS code of your course, cross-reference your degree with skilled occupation lists, talk to alumni from your exact program. Avoid agents who say PR is easy, and if your course has no PR pathway, be honest with yourself. Do you really want to apply to Australia? So yes, there is a lot of good about Australia, especially the work-life balance. And what we hear from people living there, the life looks like a dream from afar, but to making that dream come possible for yourself will take a lot of sacrifices and stressful years. If you're ready for that, then only apply to Australia. Again, this is based based on the research we have done and from some of the comments from people who have studied in Australia. Please do your own homework before deciding your destination. Let me know in the comments if I have missed anything important and whether what we discussed makes sense or not. I hope this will help you make a more informed choice for your study abroad plans in 2026 and beyond. So looking forward to your comments, and I will see you guys next time with a fresh new video. Until then, take care. Bye bye.